All right, guys. CPI numbers came out today. Do we really give a shit? I mean, let's keep it real. You know, so I guess it's year over year, 4.9%. I think it was 5% last year or last month, year over year. But I guess month over month, I think we're up like 0.4% or something like that. It's a joke, man. It's absolutely a joke. There's so many things in this world that are manipulated, the numbers and what they tell us and all this other stuff. I don't got to explain that to you guys. Let me say this. The reason I call it the CPI numbers is for a few reasons. Number one is they changed the basket of goods. Even from when they changed it, I believe it was 1980 when they changed the format. Because if they kept the format the same in 1980, let's just say 5% would be almost tripled in what it is. And also they've been changing it lately, even more manipulated on top of the manipulation, right? But what's daunting to me is how all of a sudden CPI is a big thing now. You know, the Fed speaking, that's a big thing. Interest rates, these people have so much power now, and they always have. This is why you see people saying end the Fed and we don't need a central bank and stuff like that. And I completely agree with that. But we do have that stuff. And CPI is a funny thing, right? Because a lot of people that listen to the lamestream media that are plugged into the network, and let's just say, let's call these people the puppeteers, okay? The elitists, the people that control everything, have all the money and the power and the influence and everything else. The 1% of the 1% of the 1% a few times. The puppeteers. They do this on purpose, and we know this. And what do I say about doing it on purpose? They feed you something that they want you to eat. They feed you a narrative they want you to digest and consume. We can't always be consumers of everything that we listen to or hear. Anything that's on that box, 9 times out of 10 is a lie, a diversion, or a distraction, or a mechanism to divide us. And I think we know this on this channel. But our job is to know what the real CPI is. And what the real CPI is, it's different for every single person. There's so many variables. What are those variables? Well, first of all, is where you live. I mean, every state is different, every country is different, every city is different. Number 2, what you buy. What do you consume? It's a consumer price index, CPI. What are you consuming? Because it's funny how the things you consume, the things that we need, are going up, but our investments are going down. Isn't that something? That's why I tell people, when it comes to your money, you need to consume less and invest more, in my humble opinion, right? But you got to consume. You got to eat. You got to live. You know, some things you have a fixed thing or a fixed price on something that you have to spend on. And what are those? You have to pay your rent or your mortgage. You have to. You got to eat. You got to pay your utilities. Those are fixed expenses. Now, they're not fixed to the price of, they're fixed every month or every year, the same price. No, those are things that you have to fix into your budget, and you have to spend. But there's all other things like variables or various spending that you don't have to spend on, right? And those are the things you need to consume less of. So the CPI numbers mean absolutely nothing. I'm going to tell you like this. Bitcoin stackers, silver stackers, precious metal stackers. Use these numbers, these CPI numbers, the CPI numbers, the Fed interest rates and stuff like that. Use that as a mechanism or a tool to teach them about precious metals and Bitcoin. You know, when I'm trying to be a silver ambassador or a Bitcoin or try to orange pill someone, that's what I talk about. I don't just come out and say it. I'll just say, hey man, what do you think about inflation? Because inflation is probably the most important human topic in human history. And I'll make a video specifically on that. And that's how you pique their interest. Because 97 or 98 or 96 times out of 100 people that you come across are not buying bullion and Bitcoin. They're just not. So use these events with inflation, things going up, and give them a brief, tutorial or whatever about why it's like that. And have you noticed, you know who Jerome Powell is, the Fed chair, and what it is. And then, you just talk a little bit about, the CPI numbers. Do you know what those are? And talk to them about, do you know what inflation is and stuff like that. And then say, hey, you ever thought about buying X or Y? You know what I mean? It's a good, it's a really good tool. I've used that quite a bit because it's a real thing. Everyone in America, especially around the world, is going through it. We're all going through it. I don't care how much money you got. People think because you're rich, not the elite rich, I'm talking about, because there's a certain amount of people that get all the money that's being inflated and printed, it goes up to them. I'm talking about the people a couple levels down that their homes used to be 25 million and now they're 32 million, which that's just paper rich. Doesn't mean anything. But this is what I tell people all the time. In order to beat inflation, you got to do the things I said before. Obviously you got to pay your fixed stuff. You got to invest more in everything else. But what you got to do is you got to keep your investments out of cash. You know what I mean? You got to have cash, of course. You got to have a certain small amount of cash. But when they're burning it on both ends, and you're keeping your hard-earned energy in a savings account, my gosh, man, you can't do that. And I know you guys know that, and I'm preaching to the choir. When I make my videos and I make that little Spider-Man thing at the end, I said, I love you guys. When you got the 3 Peter Parkers from different universes, I do that as a metaphor for us, right? Even though I'm an African-American male living in Las Vegas, and we don't all look alike and stuff like that. Even the Peter Parkers don't look alike. I know they're all white guys and they're similar. One's shorter, taller, medium-sized, whatever. We pretty much do the same thing, right? We're precious metal, Bitcoin stackers, investors, whatever. We don't listen to the lamestream media. None of that. So I talk to you guys because we're kind of in different universes. We're like, you're in Michigan or Hawaii or New York or different country, wherever, but we're doing the same exact things. And we need to do more of the same exact thing, because sometimes we get in our little bubbles and we only worry about ourselves. And we can't do that, ladies and gentlemen. We can't do that. Silver and gold shouldn't be a secret. That's why you see a lot of precious metal stackers. And more of them, if you haven't noticed, they've been showing their faces, which I love that. I love that. You know what I mean? If I could show my ugly mug, you guys know how I feel about that, showing your face. But a lot of, even Bitcoin stackers do that. A lot of Bitcoin stackers will not show their face. And the reason being is they don't want to get, I guess the government not knowing. I don't see how that's possible, but government knows everything, guys. Even when you use Signal, that phone app or stuff. Tucker Carlson used that, and they tapped into him. There's nothing that the CIA or these 3-letter agencies in America don't know about you if they want to know it. Okay, let me just tell you that. But I think most people do it because they don't want to be, they don't want to get robbed by the people that are not stacking Bitcoin or precious metals and stuff like that. And I get that to a certain extent. You don't want people to know what you got and all that other stuff. The problem with that thinking, in my humble opinion, this is just my opinion, guys. The problem with that thinking is you're basically saying that I have something that no one else has, and I'm going to keep it a secret, not only from you that I have it, but I'm not going to tell you to get it. Again, in my humble opinion, that's not the way to go about it. Now, again, I'm not telling you to tell everybody your last name, your social security number, and your address. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying don't be in anonymity or in hiding either. That's all I'm saying. It goes for both ways, precious metal stackers and silver stackers, gold stackers, whatever. We have got to get the word out that people need hard, sound money, right? I don't care what your flavor of stacking is. We need that, right? You cannot anymore. And I should have listened to Robert Kiyosaki in the 90s in Rich Dad Poor Dad, because I was saving back then. And he would always say, being a saver is a loser. Savers are for losers. I'm like, what? I was always taught you got to save your money. My grandma taught me that. Everybody taught me that. But I didn't understand what he was talking about with the inflation, because it wasn't that bad back then, right? It's just only 2%. It's only 2%. Like, what's the big deal? And also, I'm getting a 3% raise, so I just thought it was something that it was supposed to be. Why is it that 2% or 3% is baked in into the economy, like chocolate chips are into a cookie? Why? Why do we have to lose 2% of our purchasing power every single year? And by the way, that's compounded. So we already know that the dollar, in comparison to when the Fed was started in 1913, is down 90-something%. Depends on who you listen to. I've heard 97, 99, 95, 93. You guys heard the numbers. Why is that? And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how you educate people during times like this. Today is a day to do that. I'm going to tell you guys like this. If we don't get people around us onto the things that we have, we're all going to be in trouble. Right? What do I mean? The people that you love and people surrounding you are going to lose everything, because if the dollar does crash, or if the CBDCs come and they're all under control, that's not good. Meanwhile, we're sitting pretty. And by the way, they need supplies too. We got all our supplies that money can buy, meaning if we have money, we buy the supplies early, the things that we're going to need the money to buy when we got it early, and we got plenty of stock of those things, and they don't have any of it. You think you need to hide your face now. You don't have enough bullets for what would be coming if everybody keeps going the way they're going. And you guys know that. That's why we're all Spider-Man in our multiverses. And that's why I took the job at the Nevada Coin and Jewelry too. Because now I can spread the good word on precious metals. In my next video, I'll explain why I still stack precious metals. But yeah, so use the CPI or the CPI numbers, because we know they're a lie. They're not 5%. Use that as a mechanism to get people orange pilled and be a silver and gold ambassador. Thank you so much for watching. I love each and every one of you, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace and love.